Hey guys, what's up? I know how much everyone, absolutely everyone lately hate London system, and please stay here for at least a couple of minutes to learn something extremely interesting and tricky. It's anti-London. You can find even a couple of games being played there. It's a specialty against the London players and against those who after d4, d5, bishop f4, they play London. They always go with this boring move. You know how lately this bishop f4 concept became not only boring but difficult for playing. And all of a sudden, I just have a piece of great news for you. Go with h5. And now you're going to say, I mean, what the hell is this? What is he showing us? But believe it or not, get ready to actually trap opponents, a London bishop, in just 2 moves from now. So every London player, absolutely every London player will play a3 and will say, what the hell do you want? I'll play e3. I'm just going to carry on developing myself. You played the stupid h5 move. Thank you so much, buddy. Thank you so much, because you've just lost your London bishop. e5, boom, and you go with e5, you trap the bishop on f4, and you say, let's see who's smarter here. So we play e5. If they take by pawn, you just go g5, and the bishop is trapped. They can only play bishop g3, in which case you play h4. Goodbye, baby. I'm taking on g3. I'm gonna be up a piece. Eventually, I'm not only winning that, but I have the bishop pair. e5 is gonna be weak, and you're just losing the game. After e3, e5, what happens if they play bishop e5? f6, and you're about to trap the bishop on e5. Who would say that you can trap the dark square bishop in London with stupid h5 move in just 2 moves? I haven't found too many games with this. This is a blood specialty. It works very, very nice on all kinds of levels. And let me just show you what happens when they play, for example, queen d3, because they want to give us check. You want to give me check? Not this time, buddy. I play knight e7. I'm preventing check. You still cannot save your bishop on e5. You play bishop f4, I go g5. You go knight e2. I don't have to rush. I don't have to rush because bishop on f4 is trapped. As long as they don't play h3 or h4, then you gotta take it. No, just carry on and develop your pieces and play knight bc6. They go bishop f4. Okay, g5. They go bishop e2 to go after the pawn on h5. Not a big deal. I take here, and after this, I go king d7. The idea behind king d7 is to go with c6 and to hide my king on c7. That's a shelter for the king. If they go e takes f4, just c6 and find a shelter with a bishop pair, with a piece up, even h-file open, you're completely winning. If they give you check, you have a little bit shocking move. It's king to d6, and believe it or not, you're up a piece and you're completely winning. You can check all these analysis by yourself. Don't worry, they're absolutely 100% checked. And if bishop e2, they go after the pawn on h5. Okay, you just take on e5, check, king goes on e7. Why? Because we need d7 square for the knight. Most of you would go with the knight on c6. It looks logical, looks very tempting, but no, that's not a move we want to go for. We actually want to go with knight d7, because when I play knight d7, I'm threatening to take the pawn. You can defend it by knight because I'm going to take the bishop. That's one thing. And another thing, you can't go with f4. Actually, you have to go with f4 to defend, but then I go c6. Now you understand why do we play knight d7? Because we need to go with c6. c6 is going to give us a bulletproof pawn chain. It's going to give us queen b6, going after a3 and b2 pawns. All the time they can develop the knight because the bishop is hanging. And on top of all that, I want to eventually find a shelter for my king on d8 or c7. And finally, if on f6 they play bishop d3, once again they're going for check and the king is weak. Knight to e7. Knight to e7 is a crucial thing. They go bishop f4, you go g5, and you say goodbye to your bishop. On knight e2, of course we can capture the bishop, but as long as it's trapped, you can even carry on developing your pieces. before you take eventually. And now when you take and they could take by knight, you can even go back with the bishop afterwards. And of course you're going to be up a piece, and you won't even lose the pawn on h5 to give them to hope for some sort of compensation. And finally, I want to show you a game of Magnus Carlsen, who played it in Blitz. He was familiar with this idea. After knight f3, bishop goes on g4. Once again, I put a yellow color on e3, which means that we prevent e3. How do we prevent e3? If e3, da-da-da-da, e5 again. And if they go bishop e5, say goodbye to your bishop with f6 and g5, and the bishop is gone. Or if they play e3, e5, d takes e5, you take on f3, and you say, okay, my friend, but this time I'm going to win something that you like the most. It's a London bishop. Every London player enjoys the London bishop so much. So after bishop g5, queen g5, queen d5, c6, queen b3, knight d7. I played a blitz game once, f4. Sorry, not f4, queen b7, rook b8. My opponent captured, and he, at first glance, had an amazing compensation because my pawns were broken, and he had like how many pawns? 5 pawns. But rook h6, and with all this activity of my pieces, and your opponent who only has queen in the middle of the board, of course, you just go for crazy tactics and win the game. And that's why, after knight f3, bishop g4, they can't play e3. They gotta go with knight e5, and that's what Magnus Carlsen played against him on Hambleton, chess guy. So after knight d7, of course that you can play bishop f5, in which case, in some circumstances and lines, they can go with g4. So you just go with bishop f5. Once again, e3, you trap the piece and win the bishop. So they gotta go c4, f6, g5, bishop d2, e6, and you just play c6 with hyper solid game. And this pretty solid pawn structure in the center that was known even from Nimzowitsch in my system in his book, where he applied those kinds of things in some Slav openings or some French defenses. After like knight f3, bishop g4, they can't play e3 because of fantastic e5 move. So they gotta go with knight e5. Magnus played knight d7, knight g4, h takes g4, h file is open, and after e3, he went for f5, which isn't the best move. Probably he wasn't satisfied with knight g and f6 and bishop e2, where the pawn would be goner. But the problem is knight e4. That's fantastic move. And now you threaten some g3, g5, or whatever. That's why they have to take it. You play g5. And when they go with bishop on g3, you go e6. Somehow, at a proper moment, you're going to take on g3 and create a decent amount of compensation with a game like this. You will make the long castle, play f5. You have the dark square bishop. They have the pawns on the dark squares, and you have a full compensation. Hope that you enjoyed in this very short video, but finally, I give you the answer. Let's fight against the London with this crazy, wild anti-London system, and hopefully you're going to win so many London bishops on f4 with these tricks coped with second move h5. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.